good vibrations, my good people. This is your host and creator, Jess the Best, and you are tuned in for a new episode on Are You Being Gentle with Your Mental? And in this week's episode, I will not be sharing my personal journey this week, but leaving space on the 29th, which is my birthday, to share a special podcast with you all. Today's message is to share the closing of the Trusting the Process series with a great friend of mine, Melissa Calderon. She's a 28-year-old soulful woman following her path as a fellow light worker to put more love into the world. Melissa is a wellness coach, which she helps others embrace their highest self through whole food nutrition, spirituality, mental and physical health in a holistic way. Melissa is a YouTuber under the name dearmelcee and is showing her voice to the people to show others how powerful their own voice is through their hardships and individuality. If anything resonates with you in this message today, make sure you go ahead and screenshot and let us know that you're tapping in and tag us.
Hi, how are you doing, Mel?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us on a wonderful episode of Be Well with Mel. This is actually a great friend of mine that I met about last year. No, 2019. This is a new year.
Yeah. 2 years already.
Happy New Year. And so, how are you feeling today? And are you being gentle with your mental?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Today I had a busy day, so I'm just so grateful that I get to do things, especially during this pandemic. And right now I'm actually going through a big phase in my life. I just recently moved out of my parents' house. So
Congratulations! Yo, this is huge.
Yeah,
I was 18, and so now that you're 28, is this your first time moving out as well?
Yeah, first time.
Wow. Can you please even explain for people that, just are thinking about moving out? How has it been, especially with what's going on in the world?
Yeah, honestly, well, for my situation in particular, it was just very sudden. I took the opportunity. I was just like, okay, you know what? There's a reason why everything happens. It was just so crazy, the outline of how everything happened, just with certain personal things in my life. And I've been wanting to move out too for a while. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna claim my abundance and I'm gonna just go for it. So it's been a roller coaster of emotions. I'm not even going to lie, because of course, it's a big milestone, not just for me, but for my family as well. Just being used to living in their home for so long, it's huge. And I've gotten all the support from friends and family, so I can't complain at all.
Hats off to you, and I definitely know what you mean is receiving that flow. I also live out on my own, and so we definitely have that in common. And honestly, same for me. When it was just like a flow and it wasn't forced, I knew that it was time for me to just spread my wings again. And so I'm really proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And, I know you're actually on a path as a light worker, to put more love into the world, you mentioned. And I just want to know, can you define what a light worker does for others? And how did you get started?
Yeah, so my path with recognizing that I was a light worker, because it didn't just happen overnight that I was okay, I'm officially a light worker right now. I feel like we are definitely destined for our life before we even come into incarnation into our human body. So I just used to have different experiences growing up, whether that was pain, whether that was just me maybe being more in my light and being of service to the people around me by wanting to help them and wanting to give them advice, or people just naturally just felt comfortable coming to me. So for me, it was more over time, and I'm sure that there's people that do recognize it out of nowhere, but a light worker to me is those people that have this certain type of awareness. They either get that from learning from pain, learning just through different experiences, and we basically light the path for others around us that are not just like going through the same things as us, but we're showing the world how to be of service to one another, how to be of service to the world, and really just help awaken others to their true like self, and that is genuine love. Because if you really think about it, when we're born, we're not born with like, hate or judging towards others. And just throughout time, like the conditioning that we get through our parents and the conditioning that we get through like our society and like, the outside world, we forget who we are. So like when I talk about like being a light worker and just like awakening, just like awakening to your true power and not giving your power away.
Oh, you
Yeah.
hit it on the nose right there. Actually, the first episode was the awakening, and I just share, kind of about me and how just started on this wonderful journey of just starting to believe in myself, really, and going after what I exactly wanted. And it was my spirit that moved me. And so I just was able to walk in with more intention, more purpose during this new decade for us. And I'm really glad that, I was able to experience that. And, can you share, just if we go back to the spirit, just when did you know that spirituality was beginning for you, or your awakening, and how has it affected your life?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, for me, honestly, I can tell like from a very young age, I had a very big connection with God. Like, I grew up in a Christian home, like from my dad's part, and then I grew up in a Catholic home from my mom's family. And I just remember always like going to church and just really feeling like the word of God like move me. Like, I can remember this like from like the age even like 5 years old. I remember like very very young. And like my family wasn't like too much in the church, but like my grandparents of each side were, so they were the ones that really taught me the values of, just like spirituality or the starts of some type of spirituality. And like I noticed that like at that moment when I would learn more about that and when I would want to learn more about it,
Mhm.
like I knew like I was different, not better than anyone else, but just different. Like I knew like God really like chose me to see like the truth behind like certain things, not just what I was experiencing from a very young age, but just like really seeing clearly through like, my family and my parents. And then like just through like different painful experiences like growing up, I didn't realize that I was giving my power away, and that's really how it happens to a lot of us. Like we internalize certain things subconsciously until like we are repeating certain cycles of like just like her and just like things that we can't like I guess pinpoint, but like that's why subconsciously it's there, like it's still there in the back of our head, and it's working in certain parts of our life. But until we really choose to like not experience that cycle or like not really be in pain anymore, that's when we can really like recognize like what we're doing to ourselves. And I remember back in like 2016, that year I was just like going through like bad breakup, and like I was just like always like depressed and always like taking what other people's opinions like said about me. I would always take it and internalize it, and I at the end of the day I was the one hurting myself. And I just remember one day I just felt like I was in so much pain, and I just like I remember I'm like, you know what, I'm tired of feeling like this. Like, I need to do something about this. And like, I kid you not, in that moment, I snapped out of it and I was like, no, like, if I need to fake it till I make it, I'm gonna do that. Like, I'm gonna like do that for myself. I need to like stop this because like in that moment I realized I'm like, okay, like yeah, like I've experienced certain things, but like I also have the power to like let that go and not victimize myself anymore. So then I remember in that moment, like when I was like, no, I'm not gonna let that happen anymore and experience that anymore. I just started like going about life, like in a sense, like pretending, or how they say, like in a lot of like self development books, like be as if, like, when you're trying to, like, let's say, manifest something. And I wasn't realizing exactly what it was called, but I was just being as if, like, I were to be happy. Is I was being as if, like, how I would want people to treat me by treating them like the way that I would want to be treated. So then eventually, I don't know, like, really over the span of time how it happened. I just remembered that, like, one day I actually believed what I was, like, being as if. Like, I really, like, woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to, like, do this. I'm so excited to see these people. Like, I genuinely want to do this. And I'm like, I'm happy and excited. And, like, cause when you start telling your body, like, in your mind, like, or like you're acting a certain way, like your mind can't really tell, like, what's real and, like, what's not, and, like, over time you can really program your mind and your heart and your spirit to, you know channel, like, a certain energy. So that's really what it was for me. And then eventually, as I was, like, experiencing those great moments and, like, that path of light, I started attracting those people and those experiences that, like, really aligned with my frequency and aligned with my energy. So everything, like, is energy. That's what I always tell everybody. So, like, you either attract, those bad experiences because either internally or just you're doing something that is attracting that, or you're going to be attracting the light because of the things that you're putting out there and the things that you're constantly programming your mind with. So really, like, pay attention to what you listen to, how you talk to yourself, like how you talk about others, or how you know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And before we get into the next question, I am so sorry. I'm going to just pause this right here and then I'll be able to edit that out. But then, wow, thank you so much for just even sharing that, your journey and how it's been. I know for you mentioned protecting your energy, and that's my whole just affirmation right there. Those are words I live by: protect your energy. And what are, when moments you are triggered, how do you like use or different tools that you use to bring back yourself to peace, to bring back yourself to be choosing calm over chaos? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely so many different ways to do so. I always say, like, it matters what you do daily. Like, it's not just a matter of, like, what you just do in that moment. Of course, like, in that moment you can sit with that awareness of, like, okay, let me think about what I'm about to say or do. But it all goes back to, like, your habits and, like, honestly, just, like, the person that you are and, like, your aura, because, like, let's just say that, because I can sit here and tell somebody, like, think before you speak, and, put love onto that person, and realize that whatever they're doing or saying has nothing to do with you and has everything to do with them. Like, I can tell that to anybody, but at the end of the day, like, if you're the type of person that is, like, constantly feeding, like, gossip and is constantly feeding the negativity, and then I tell you that, it's going to be a lot harder for you to, like, make that part of your life and really, like, understand what I'm trying to say. So, like, I always say, like, the fundamentals, like, how do you feed your spirit when you wake up? How do you feed your spirit when you go to sleep? Like, what are you, like, tapping into? What are you listening to? Like, even, like, the music you listen to, just, like, everything, like, really matters. But going back to, I guess, like, in the moment type of thing, like, just, like, know and, like, be aware that, like, what anyone does, like, towards you has nothing to do with you. And I really learned this through the Four Agreements. I don't know if you read that book, but it's so powerful. Like, do you like that book too? Oh
I
my god.
love that book. I love it. It's just been incredible. I used to literally take the markers and write the agreements like while I was reading it so I can continue to just affirm that for myself. And if anybody is listening, if you listen to the four agreements, tell us which agreement is best for you. Mine is to be impeccable with your words,
Mm,
because truly I live off of the words of say what you mean and mean what you say.
mhm.
Big person on that. And so I love that you mentioned that.
Because it really is like about that. Because I remember that whenever I would go into, like, let's say a conversation with somebody that I know is going to be very confrontational, I remember like back in the day before I was like more aware of like my emotions and like why certain things like come up, in my feelings. I would just like want to be right all the time. And it's not about being right. It's honestly about just realizing that like we can't give our power away to those that are in conflict with themselves. And even if we do have a moment of like lashing out or maybe not acting how we wanted to, just have peace of mind that you did the best that you could, like with what you knew and how like you felt, and like because I don't really believe in how do you say, like always like being, how do you say, like at peace and always being like um resonating with love, because like a lot of times we do want to be angry, a lot of times like we do want to be sad, but I think over time, once you keep practicing like, okay, like this has everything to do with them and this has nothing to do with me, like let me just send them love energetically, and you'll realize that that's so powerful, so powerful.
No, yes. Let's see. Oh man, that was just so good, honestly, in those moments of being triggered and not having to think about, oh, are they acting that way for me? And just being in the present moment with yourself and not carrying those thoughts over to the next day, I think is really important as well. And, I'm really so glad that I'm actually talking to Inland Empire native as well. We grew up in the same region, and I
Right.
just want to know, I know you love community. You've been able to volunteer for our nonprofit, Music Changing Lives, and other local nonprofits. Just, what made you get involved in wanting to support community?
Well, since I've been little, my grandma would always take me to like homeless shelters. She would always like just have me around like communities that needed help, and she would take me to go like help like in their kitchens, like to give out meals and stuff like that. And I am like, I've always been really inspired by people like Martin Luther King. We like briefly talked about this recently, and when I think about him and why he has inspired me, it's just like how he was like of service for the people in like wanting to have a voice for them, and like that's really how I see like my service in any way that I get to help others. So I always knew that I was a very giving person, and I need to just be where like I can lend a hand, And I would always think like, man, like I need more help. I want more people to be involved, And if you really think about it, like one person can truly change the world, And like it starts with like-minded people like us, and like local nonprofits. Like I thought for a while too, when I started doing like my park cleanups on my own with one of my friends, I'm like, man, like when people wouldn't show up, I'm like, I really wish people would care like more. Like I really wish like this community would be so different if like more people would come together. And so like when I met you guys, I was so surprised. I'm like, oh my God, there's really people out there that care about the community. So then, little by little, I started meeting like more people that are doing like all those things, and it just inspired me, honestly, because I always like wonder like what am I gonna do with like all this like fire in me that of wanting to help out my community and like people around me, people around the world, whatever that is, like. And then like being around you guys, I'm like, I can do this, like I can really like make a big change. So that's why I like to like be of service with like my community, and just like I just believe in like, that if we're here, if I see some type of like like light that I can put onto others in like my community, and if I think about the thought, it's because it's for a reason, like there's a reason why God puts certain thoughts and like experiences in like our lives.
Most definitely. And, just shout out to all the times that you got involved. I don't think I can say thank you enough because it matters when you also meet people that are like minded and like hearted. It definitely like pulls on your heartstrings and you're just like, yes, like there's others out there.
Yeah.
And so, maybe if you can even share what are some of your hopes for the Inland Empire?
So my hopes is hopefully just by people seeing just more people getting together that eventually, and I know it's already happening, that it just becomes a lifestyle that we are consistently there for the community to bring it up, bring more resources to, those in need, and even like people that don't know where to get resources, and I just hope that this continues growing. And I really hope that even like the youth really sees how much of a difference they can make, by seeing us being the example for them and like leading the way for them. So I just hope that this keeps growing. And like I don't believe what people say about San Bernardino, especially because like there's so much like negative connotations about San Bernardino, the Inland Empire, that like, oh, it's really dangerous, like, or it's a very like poor city and this and that, and like people don't want to come here, people don't want to help us, but like we should help out those that you hear about that they need the most help, like you don't know about a community or about people even until you really get to experience it for yourself. So like that goes just with anything, not just the Inland Empire. If form your own opinion.
Right. Most definitely. Get involved or visit and then see how it is. And we're from there, okay? Like we're from the Inland Empire. I was a native. I know I also grew up out in LA County as well, growing up as
Oh,
a child.
same.
But I went to school. I'm an alumni from Cal State San Bernardino, and so I was able to have my experiences there as well and just learned about myself really. And if I could be honest too, right, just from experience, if you don't take care of yourself, you'll be facing many challenges trying to take care of others. And so do you actually have like a self-care routine?
Yeah, so my self-care routine is how the way I talk to myself. So, I'm not sure if you ever heard this, when you wake up and when you're about to go to sleep, that's when your subconscious mind is the most active. So, I always make sure to feed my mind, especially in those very critical times that I wake up and about to go to sleep, that I feed my mind with the things that I want to constantly, you know, grow my belief in. So like if that's in my self-love affirmations, I started doing this thing recently, because of one of my friends. I started like putting alarms on my phone when it's like synchronistic time. So like when it's 11:11, 12:12, 2:22. And whenever my alarm goes off, I say a couple of things that I'm grateful for. And then I just take 3 deep breaths and I hold my hands against my heart so I could really feel like that abundance and that gratitude coming in. And honestly, the more grateful we are, like the more we're going to be grateful for, like the more opportunities we're going to be brought onto us to be grateful for. So for me, it's major on how I talk to myself, because like not only like is it important for how I talk to myself, but that's how I'm going to respond to the world around me and the people around me. And it's going to even like inspire the things that I do with my life and with those around me. That's why I always say, like, not just protect your energy, but really, really like pour onto yourself before you pour onto others.
Oh, yes, most definitely. And I love that you shared that with us. And I also know you're just even a big like advocate for health and wealth and just wellness too. And, also nutrition. And so, can you share just some of your best practices that really have kept you healthy during this like pandemic?
Yeah, honestly, get the body moving, like whatever that is for you, like dancing, make it fun, like go out for a run because when even like when our bodies are not moving, like it's keeping stagnant energy in. So not just like for, our physical health, but for our mental health as well. So I encourage everybody, especially thinking about the pandemic and thinking about, people are probably inside their homes a lot. So really make the effort to, walk around your house, like walk in your backyard if you want to go for a walk somewhere. That's like honestly a big one when it comes to just like my physical health and just like my nutrition and stuff like that. Drink lots of water. Honestly, a lot of times we want to snack and we maybe like overeat or we go for that bad snack, those sugary, candies and all that stuff. And like we think we're hungry, but really it's just that we're thirsty. So, like, try to really drink at least a gallon of water a day. I know it sounds like a lot, but like you'll see the difference. Like when you're hydrated, you'll notice that it's just really your body telling you, like, okay, like feed me in some way. And it's like our body is like mainly made out of water. So we need to constantly be like hydrating. And honestly, everything else, like with nutrition, just like healthy habits really goes into just really learning about like what is healthy, what is not. Because I thought I knew what healthy was until I really educated myself. That's why I think it's great that we have people like wellness coaches, like myself, or people that are just like passionate about, you know, being healthy and that live that lifestyle and just learning through them as well, doing your own research.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think also too, like just something that I teach others is how to, switch your mindset and not
Mhm.
have the fixed mindset and also just go to a growth mindset to thinking that I can do better. I can implement these little changes to see better. And, I'm really trying to inspire our generation to be able to be the next ones of showing how to be that example,
Mhm.
really. And so I really just would love to know if you can just share what's your message for millennials or even Gen Z coming up in this time.
I would say just like based off like all the chaos that's going on in the world and just like constantly being around people. Let's say you work somewhere where you see people all the time. We go to the store, we encounter people as well. Just make sure that you really like do your research when it comes to just anything, like really learn how to form your own opinion because we get so comfortable with like what the media tells us. We get so comfortable with like what our parents tell us and what our friends tell us. Like honestly, like I think the best survival guide for millennials, for anyone really, is to learn how to form your own opinion. And you could do that by, you know, like growing your spirituality. You can do that by researching on Google, even like little things here and there. And honestly, I always tell everybody like question everything because you really don't know if you are like really if you're taking on other people's opinions if or if that's really yours until you really even dive into yourself, like question yourself, journal about it.
Wow, that's something so powerful. You mentioned just journaling, like,
Mhm.
and ask yourself, right? I think so many people go to advice for others, but do you trust yourself? Do you
Mm.
trust your own judgment? Um, because that's what you have. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's not a funny
Yeah.
kind of topic, but it's just like, it's honesty. And I think sometimes, I think even when you're in the moment of just trying to understand everything, you're thinking that somebody else knows better. But when you really just do your own self reflection, you've known it all along that you're your own superpower. and that you
Mm.
can turn that on so quickly when you go meditate, if you don't want to think on a thought, or if you just want to have a moment to kind of breathe and collect your thoughts. That's okay too. And of course, so many will come, but acknowledge that they're coming for you to acknowledge them, and also to appreciate how to know how to move from that space as well. And so I honestly just want to thank you so much for just taking the time to be present and just share your passions with us. Thank you, all the listeners that are been on with me, as we did have some couple of difficulties, but I just want to be authentic and real with you guys. This is what happens when you're
Yeah.
trying to do everything and set up and just make it make sense. But I hope you heard
Yeah.
a great message today. And if you took any value out of this conversation, repost it, leave a review, and just know that each link to Melissa will be here on our show notes. Please check out her YouTube. She has an amazing story, and I don't want her to share it here because y'all can hear it there. And
Yes.
so let us know what you like. Please follow, subscribe, like, share this podcast with somebody else to inspire them. And honestly, I just want to send peace and love to each of you guys out there. I hope you guys are choosing calm over chaos. And I hope you all are being well with yourself. We are sending so much love to you.
Wow, this series included amazing creatives who are putting their best foot forward in their work that they are doing, and I am honored to have had a chance to hear their story and share it with you all. Let me know in my comments what you learned overall from the Trusting the Process series, and you can leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any episodes. Continue to be gentle with